Okay, now this is going to take me a little bit of time to set up for you. So follow me on this. I mentioned that the 2000 Mets are the first Mets team to go to the World Series since that classic 1986 team. And while this version may somehow be able to rally and upset the Yankees this year, they are never, ever going to replace the 86 team. That team has to go down as one of the all-time wildest and scariest bunch of ball players in the history of the world. Now, this much we know. We already knew that the team was loaded up with drinkers and cokeheads, but that barely even scratches the surface. According to a recent article in FHM magazine, they were totally out of control. And I don't mean guys who would go out there and run the streets and booze it up and snort a bunch of cocaine. I mean, these guys were gone. They had sex addicts, they had drug addicts, they had brawlers, they had cokeheads, and most amazingly, they had a very violent Kevin Mitchell. Now, we all know of the more infamous moments. Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry fighting at the team picture, but there are some other highlights from the 86 team as about. For instance, Kevin Elster, the current LA Dodgers shortstop, was on the team, and apparently he was the resident sex addict. As the story goes, Elster spotted a woman in the stands that he liked, so he sent a bat boy into the stands to find out what her deal was. She said that she was the girlfriend of a visiting San Diego Padre player. Yeah, like that was going to stop Elster. He brought her into the clubhouse in the fourth inning and had already finished his business by the seventh. All right, so he reportedly sent a bat boy up to get her out of the stands, and he hit it during a game in the clubhouse. And bonus points for hitting the girlfriend of an opposing player. Nothing quite like banging women from the stands in the middle of the game. Thank God they didn't need that guy to pinch hit. I can hear Davey Johnson. Hey, Elster, get a bat. He's not here, Skip. Where the hell is he? I need to make a double switch. He's banging some Padres girlfriend in the clubhouse. He should be done in a couple of innings, Skip. The best part about this, Elster was one of the most normal guys on the team. He only had sex with women from the stands during games. That was normal compared to what was going on that team. For instance, and again, it's all according to an article in FHM magazine, after winning the 86 NLCS against the Astros, you might recall that series, the Mets did over $10,000 damage to the airplane carrying them home. They ripped the door off the bathroom. They found a bunch of guys with their heads buried in a pile of blow. That's nice. And Doc Gooden, by the way, is quoted extensively in this article. Doc's giving it up. Doc rolled over on a number of his former teammates. Doc describes the scene like this, quote, "The drinking on that flight was incredible. The players' wives were being traded in kissing and groping sessions." End of quote. Yeah, that's nice. I'm sure that all of the wives were looking forward to the next trip. Now, when the airlines came back to the Mets and hit them with a $10,000 bill, management went to Davey Johnson and said, "Hey, look, Davey, you take this bill downstairs and you get us some money. That's $10,000. You go to your guys and you get us some money." And Davey said to management, "No problem, I'll do it." He goes down to his clubhouse. He gets in front of his team, and he says, "Hey, guys, check this. We ripped up that plane to the tune of $10,000, and now I'm going to need some money from all of you." He holds the bill up in front of the team and says, quote, "F them. Without us, there is no World Series." And he ripped the bill up. Nice attitude. I mean, how great is that? The manager of the team did that. I can't imagine why there were any discipline problems on that team. Gooden estimates that 18 of the 25 players on that team had alcohol or drug problems, or both. I'm not talking about one or two guys that strayed. 18 of 25 guys were either doing coke or booze or both. That's a nice ratio. Nothing like only having 7 sober guys on your whole team. Nothing quite like having 7 guys on your team who aren't drinking to excess or using blow. Apparently Daryl, the cokehead extraordinaire, used to ride the non-druggies on that team, like Tim Tuffle and Gary Carter. He would call Tuffle Richard Head. And I don't think I need to explain to you what that meant. And he would constantly make fun of his religious convictions. Finally, Tuffle had heard enough. Tuffle and Carter are both pretty religious guys. And finally, Tuffle had heard enough, and he went after Straw on the airplane. Nice work, Daryl. What's funnier than a cokehead making fun of your religion? Very nice move. And even funnier when you consider that Daryl has now since gone to the God card himself, since his life fell apart. Hypocrite. Then there's Kevin Mitchell. Now, before I talk about Mitch, understand a couple of things. What I'm about to say are mostly the opinions of Doc Gooden and not Jim Rome or the Premier Radio Networks, or Travis Rogers or Brian Albers or Jason Stewart. Doc Gooden has said, for the record, I've never really met anybody that I was truly afraid of, except Kevin Mitchell. Mitch scared the hell out of me. We all know that Mitch is street. Mitch is tough. Mitch is dangerous. Mitch can be violent. I mean, Mitch is scary. There's no way around it. The guy can play. The guy could swing it. The guy was a former MVP. I mean, we were talking about a once great ball player. But dude is hard. Dude is tough. Dude is scary, straight up. We all know he's dangerous. What we didn't know is what he was quite capable of. You thought it was bad, for instance, when he knocked out the owner of that minor league team a few months back. Remember when we talked about that? We've also talked in the past about how Mitch attacked his father for failure to pay rent. That was pretty bad. Wait, there's more. All of that's nothing compared to this. And again, according to Doc Gooden, not me, according to Doc Gooden, the following took place. Gooden and Mitch were neighbors. So Doc dropped by to see what was going on one night. That was mistake number one. He came into the condo and found Mitch and his girlfriend fighting. Mitch had a 12-inch knife and was waving it at his girlfriend. Doc knew at that point that he came onto something that he shouldn't have come onto, and he tried to get the hell out of there, as you might imagine. When he tried to leave, Mitch turned the knife on Doc and said, "Sit the F down. You aren't going anywhere." He then ordered Gooden to barricade the front door. And again, I interrupt this story to say that this is Doc talking, not me, Mitch. He orders Gooden to barricade the front door to prevent, quote, police sharpshooters from getting him. Mitch thought the sharpshooters were outside the condo. He then made Gooden push a couch and 2 chairs in front of the door. Gooden tried to tell him that there was nobody outside. Doc was like, "Mitch, dude, I was just there. There's nobody out there, man. It's cool. We're fine." Mitch said, quote, "You calling me a liar, mother effer?" Needless to say, Doc sat down. So basically Mitch has kidnapped Doc and his girlfriend. Doc at that point just shut up. Wait, there's more. The girlfriend then tells him that he's out of hand and that Gooden was just his friend and was just trying to help out. How do you suppose Mitch responded to that? You probably have an idea, but you'll never guess what happened next. At this point, Mitch, according to Doc, not me, was so enraged, he grabbed his girlfriend's cat that happened to be walking by. He picked the cat up and he cut the cat's head off with that same knife. Yes, you heard me right. He lopped off the cat's dome. Then said, quote, "You think I'm kidding when I said don't F with me." Gooden says that Mitch just held the head in his hands while the body was bleeding and twitching on the ground. If there is a more disturbing sentence that's ever come out of my mouth on this show, I don't know what it is. Visualize an enraged Kevin Mitchell with a bloody knife in one hand, a cat head in the other hand, and a twitching cat body on the ground. That's one of the most horrible things I've ever said or even thought of. Then, there's more. Gooden says Mitch made Gooden and the girlfriend sit on the couch for 2 hours, staring at them while nobody said a word. Mitch basically just stared them down for 2 hours as if to insinuate, yeah, well, what are you going to do about it? Gooden said that he was too terrified to say anything. He said it was one of the most terrifying moments, well, hours, of his life. Finally, Mitch smiled at them and said, "Okay, you can go now." Needless to say, Doc got the hell out of there. The next day, Doc went by Mitch's locker to see if he was feeling any better. Mitch responded by saying, "Yesterday never happened." And that was the end of that. That's the last time anybody talked about it. I can't say that I blame Doc for not pressing the issue. I mean, I don't even know what to say to something like that. Doc also tells of a time when they had a bench-clearing fight with the Pirates, a typical baseball fight with no actual damage being done, except for Mitch, that is. He had a Pirate outfielder, Sammy Khalifa, in a headlock and was literally trying to kill him. Quote, "I realized that Khalifa's eyes were rolling back into his head and that Kevin wasn't stopping. He was murdering the guy right on the field. A bunch of us had to rush over and pull him off before the guy died." Consequently, the Mets got rid of Mitch for probably some of these reasons, and the fact that they were all scared to death of him. Well, that was some team. Cokeheads, a guy that was trying to kill people on the team. Boy, I mean, it got to a pretty good start, didn't it? When you heard me first talk about Kevin Elster having sex with a fan during the game, you thought, yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, we've all forgotten about that already after hearing about Mitch and the cat. Straw and Tuffle going to blows. Straw calling Tuffle Richard Head. Elster having sex with fans during games in the clubhouse. Coney masturbating in the bullpen. Well, that was quite a team. And I'd finally like to end this take by saying, all of these takes are Doc's and not mine, Mitch. But Mitch is a classic.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.